Welcome back to Learning Lockdown, and it is time for some maths. Now, this week, we've been looking at measuring, but not with rulers.
No.
We've been looking at measuring weight with scales. But today, we're not going to need that either.
No. Today, we are measuring something called capacity, sometimes called volume. And what is capacity and volume? Well, it is the measure of how much a container can contain.
What? A container can contain?
How much a container can contain. So the easiest way often to see this is simply by using water. So as you can see here, Mr. A has got a rather large bottle, and you can see that this bottle actually tells him different measurements. It's another scale, okay, going up the side of his bottle. And you can see here that we've got numbers. On one side, we've got numbers going up in hundreds, 100, 200, 300, and on this side, we've got numbers going up in fours, okay? Mr. A, do you want to tell us a little bit about the difference between those two measurements?
Yes, we looked at measuring in length, we talked about measuring in time briefly, and weight, and they all use different scales, but we talked about when we were measuring in length that you've got something called metric and imperial. So sometimes you measure in meters, millimeters, and centimeters. Other times you measure in inches and feet. Well, you know what? It's the same with capacity or volume. There's two different ways of measuring. Now, the common way is using our scale that goes up in hundreds here. We call them milliliters and litres.
They are metric, aren't they?
They are metric. And on the other side, we've got fluid ounces, which is also measured in ounces and gallons. And that one's an older imperial way of looking at it. We're going to talk about the millilitres today, so do not worry about the ounces. Now, this bottle actually came with me on a great adventure, which I've actually got a video that we're planning to release on Learning Lockdown when I finish editing it. You will see this bottle again, but this bottle is a great size to use for this lesson because it goes up to 1,000 millilitres.
And that's a very important number, 1,000 millilitres, isn't it?
Very important.
Because, as you'll see on the board behind us now, as you can see here, 1,000 millilitres is the same as 1 litre. It's very, very similar. In fact, it's the same as what we did with our millimetres. 1,000 millimetres equaled 1 metre.
One thing we need to make sure here is you're going, but it doesn't say millilitres and litres, it says mil and all. But these are just abbreviations. Like when you do centimetres, you know that you put cm. Well, here, you just put ml for millilitres and a big capital L for litres. That fact today is going to be really important because you're going to be doing some problem solving today using litres and millilitres. We're going to have two examples we're going to look at on the board, and then we're going to show you a game that we're going to encourage you to play that will help you when you're solving the problems. Now, let's say you're having a race to move some liquids, which you will do later, and you have so far moved 350 millilitres of water. So on my bottle, that would be roughly about this much water. But let's say you wanted a full litre of water. I needed to carry a full litre of water on my expedition, and I'd only got 350. The question might be, well, how much more do I need to move into this bottle in order to fill it? So I'm at 350 millilitres, but I want to get to 1 litre. Now, how on earth can I count on from 350 to 1?
Well, I think the important thing to remember here, Mr. A, is that 1 litre is the same as 1,000 millilitres. So whenever you're doing any kind of calculation involving units of measure, and you've got two different units of measure, it's very, very, very useful to convert, important word there, one of them so that it's the same unit as the other one that you've got. So in this example, we can change 1 litre into 1,000 millilitres because that's what it's worth.
So
and suddenly, this becomes much, much easier to solve.
So now I'm just counting on from 350 millilitres to 1,000 millilitres. Now, we don't know how you might do this in your school, but the way we like to do it is to count on a number line. Now, I like to do this by making the next whole 100. It helps me chunk down those jumps into easier, manageable chunks.
So the next easiest place to go after 350, I think, is 400. Because we like to go to nice, round, whole 100 numbers. So how do we get from 350 to 400? Well, it's not that hard to spot, is it?
We've added an extra 50 millilitres to go from 350 to 400. We'd add 50. So we've added 50 millilitres so far. Not in total, because I want to get to 1,000 millilitres. Now we're at 400, but we want to get to 1,000.
Well,
I think we can do that jump in one big jump. I don't think we need to do loads of little jumps.
No,
I think we can jump
either.
from 400 straight to 1,000.
Can you spot what that size of the jump would be? Tell somebody who's sat next to you now. Shout it to us if you're on your own. What would this jump be? Well, I know my number bonds, so I know that to get from 4 to 10 is a jump of 6. But we haven't just jumped
6 ones.
6 ones, we've actually jumped 6 hundreds.
So we jumped 50 millilitres and then 600 millilitres, but all together...
We've just got to add them together. So 600 plus 50, easy, 650. And that's how many more millilitres Mr. A would have to add to his bottle in order to fill it to 1 litre, 1,000 millilitres.
So that's like one problem you might face today. Here's one more. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Mr. A has 400 millilitres of water. Imagine I've got my bottle, it'll be 400 millilitres of water. Mr. S has 1 litre, 200 millilitres.
Yes!
Huge bottle.
I win.
How much more does Mr. S have? Now here we're not trying to make a litre. Here we're trying to see the difference between two amounts, but that number line will still really help us.
But right now this problem looks very, very difficult still. So what have we got to do first of all? We've got to change one of our numbers so it's the same unit. You have to change this, where our litre is, into millilitres. What would it be?
1 litre equals 1,000 millilitres. That would be 1,000 millilitres and 200 millilitres. Don't forget that one. So altogether, Mr. S has 1,200 millilitres. I'm going to put that in brackets next to his amount, just so I remember. So let's start with our smaller amount and use our number line. Mr. A, 400 millilitres. And we want to see the difference. What's the distance? What's that gap between Mr. A's amount and Mr. S's? Now remember, he's converted us to millilitres, so we're using the same unit of measure. That will help us. And now let's figure out that distance. So let's do a nice easy jump. Now we've done a similar jump before.
We did, didn't we? Yeah. I'd do it again, I think.
Oh, we jumped from 400 to 1,000 before, and we need to get to 1,000 before 1,200. So let's do that jump again.
Yeah.
400 to 1,000 millilitres. That would be a jump of
600, did it before. And now, it gets even easier. To go from 1,000 to 1,200, well, it has to be 200, doesn't it?
200 dogs, cats, boats.
Millilitres.
Thank you. So, how much more, here's Mr. A's amount, here's Mr. S's, how much more has Mr. S got? Well, we need to add our overall difference together, 600, add 200. Well, I know 6 add 2 equals 8, so 600 add 200 equals 800 millilitres. And that is how you can solve some problems with measuring capacity. But you're going to do it based on a game that we're going to encourage you to play about moving water from one container to another, and particularly how 2 teams move water from one container to another. But to demonstrate this...
Well, we were going to demonstrate it, weren't we? But we thought, we're not that competitive, really. So we thought we'd invite some of our guests in who are particularly competitive. So they're going to show you the game, and then this video is done. And then it's over to you. And as always, we'd love you to send in. We would love some videos, actually, of you playing this game. Yeah. That would be good. It's important when you play this game. You might want to play it outside, maybe. Don't get too carried away.
Or in your bathroom.
Or in your bathroom, yeah. Somewhere where there's no carpet. But we're going to hand over now to our sports production team, and they're going to take you through the demonstration of this game. And welcome to the Water Championships 2020. We've got Coach McCleckett there
and Uncle Giblets on the left.
Both very good competitors in this field. I think we're very excited to see what happens in today's event.
Our cameraman really could have panned up a little bit, but as you can see here, they're warming up. Both of them very familiar with the utensils, and I think we are ready to go. So, on the mark, please.
Getting themselves set.
Here we go.
Oh, it begins. Okay, it's a fantastic start there by Uncle Giblets. Look at that technique.
There was an interception there by Coach McCleckett. Getting away. Coach McCleckett seems to be
a bit. It's shocking. A little bit violent. This.
What is Coach McCleckett doing?
He's his own face. This is these competitors. They've been doing this for many, many years. Of course.
Coach McCleckett seems to have got something in his eye. Is this going to impede him? No. Uncle Giblets is not waiting for anyone there.
Uncle Giblets, 3-time world champion. Oh, that's why he's the 3-time world champion. Fantastic bit of spotting. Giblets with the reply. Oh, Giblets is down. Coach McCleckett takes it in his face. He seems to think he's won. There's plenty of water in there. Giblets not very happy. Has he had his crowns? Oh! Well, this is no need. You can't see them. And Giblets gets one in the face as well. Fantastic from these two competitors. Well done.